There we go. Okay, I'm Rose Joyner.
I'm Becky Bolaños.
And this will be our amazing Grace paper discussion.
Yay.
Yay! All right, so I guess we just start from the beginning and just go, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the first one for discussion is, what doctrine in Wilbur's heart drove him to advocate? And why is the doctrine of the family so important to have in your heart and to be passionate and persistent? So the first thing that I put was the doctrine of equality, that all men are created equal, is one of the things that drove Wilbur to advocate. And I also put the doctrine of the family.
Yeah. I put both of those things too.
Okay.
And then I put justice, just because like even at the end it said like he continued to fight injustice throughout like the rest of his life and everything. And I mean, I feel like that one goes well with equality. He wanted fair treatment for everyone, and didn't matter who you were, who's fighting for all. And then
Right.
I put love too, just because I feel like you have to have love to be able to do all these things, you know?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
in the background there's always like, because you love these people, because I mean, maybe even if it wasn't for the other people, which I know it was, but like maybe love for your family because you want it to be different for them or something like that. But yeah, I said
Or even
justice.
just
Yeah.
or even just love for your fellow men, you know?
Yeah.
He was a Christian and he believed in God's word, and so he knew that all men were to be treated equal and were made in God's image, and so they shouldn't be treated the way that they were.
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
why is the doctrine of the family so important?
So important. Yeah.
I think for that one, like, I mean, when you're fighting for things, you're fighting for like now and the future, and I mean, your family is the future. Like, no matter where you're at, it's the future, and if you don't have that in mind, then you don't really have it. And it doesn't even have to be your own like family, like blood family. Like other people are still your family, and some people might not be able to fight for themselves. So
Right. That's great. Well, I put, because family is the basic unit of society and also the basic unit for eternity. And that also in our times there's many things that attack the family. Like right now we're dealing with abortions and feminism and people not wanting kids and selfishness and focus on their own desires and their focus on their career. Those like otherworldly focuses that take away from the family. And so that's one of the reasons why it's so important for us to advocate. Also, children are usually the most impacted and the least thought of in policy making.
yeah,
So they need somebody to have a voice for them, and that's something that we can do.
yeah. And I feel like, especially with advocating and like standing up and like fighting for all these things, like you need to be passionate and persistent because it's not an easy thing at all. Like hardships are gonna come no matter what once you start standing up for things. And if you don't have that passion and you're not persistent with it, like you're just gonna fall, really.
Right, right. Well, I was thinking too of in the Sacred Duty when we read that book, how the opposition was trying to intimidate him and was, like on him and following him around, and how kind of freaky
Yeah,
that is. But there are people that are passionate on the other side too, and so we
yeah,
can be
definitely.
just as passionate on our side.
Yeah, so true.
Still gives me the heebie-jeebies when I think about those people following him.
I know. Especially when he was in that room with that lady.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And when was that? When was his experience? Like what year?
Oh, I
It
don't
wasn't
remember.
that long ago, was it?
I think it was in the 80s, if I remember
Really?
correctly.
Oh,
Mid
dang.
80s, I want to say.
Yeah, it was creepy.
I don't know, but to me, the feminist movement's gone like a lot further than they were in the 80s, and they're much more extreme, so who knows what they would do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Goodness.
Passion and persistent is
Yeah,
necessary.
definitely. So I think that's everything I had for number 1. What about you?
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So number 2, how did Wilbur employ a theoretical Bronfenbrenner approach to become a more effective advocate and identify at least one thing in each system and be specific? So since we have to do something from each system, you want to just say what system and then kind of talk about something from that system? Okay, so I guess we'll start with the microsystem.
Okay, go back.
I had that Wilbur made friends of peers who he knew about the issue. He also contacted his community through petition. He used his family's and friends' contact to further his advocacy. He also used John Newton, who wrote his account of being a slave trader for Wilbur, which he published and also used, and then Equiano published and used his account of slavery as well, which were all great points in the microsystem to help spread the word of advocacy for the slave trade.
Yeah, I put that too about his peers that, I mean, they had a huge influence on him, and it wouldn't have, well, I honestly don't think it would have been possible for him to do it by himself. Like everyone, all the peers that he met, all the people along the way that helped influence him, like they all had such a big impact in slavery finally being abolished. And even his wife too, that ended up coming later on, like if it wasn't for her, like he wouldn't have went back to do it because he had kind of given up, and like after so much doing everything and then it not working out, but like his wife was there to help him to like realize, you know what, like go back. And I super liked in the movie when she said, when you have a bad taste in your mouth, you don't swallow it, you spit it out or something like that. Yeah, I was like, that's nice. Yeah. And so like I think if it wouldn't have been for her and for like her impact in his life, who knows if he would have ended up going back or anything, or like if he would have got sicker faster or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely had people in his path that really helped him out.
Yeah.
Mesosystem next?
Yeah.
Okay.
For that one, I put, well, that one is interaction between the different parts of a person's microsystem. So I put maybe like his schooling influencing the way that he thought. And I think that's what they were saying, where he became friends with, I don't remember his name, but he was a prime minister. Do you remember his name? Yeah. Because they went to school together, so yeah. I'm just guessing that's where they met. But
well, they were about the same age and they seemed like really good friends, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, at school when he had a good voice and stuff, and so I was like, yeah, well, he probably did meet there. What did I put? I said his schooling influenced his thinking, and is where he became friends with the future prime minister. I couldn't remember his name. And oh, and I put like, because of his beliefs and like everything that brought him to where he was able to have lots of things in common with his future wife, which led him to get married with her, and then they ended up having their own family and raising like a righteous family, and he was able to fight for them and improve life for his future children that he did end up having with her. And so I said how like schooling and peers and his beliefs and his wife and his family all ended up mixing together.
Right. The only other thing that I have that you didn't bring up was that William Pitt is the one who introduced him to all the people that were like-minded with him.
That's true.
So because of his connection with him and his connection with these people, even though he wanted to stay out of it for the the politics, he still introduced him to these people that were helping him do this great work.
Yeah. Yeah, he knew a lot of people from everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure your political career, you meet lots of people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Then, yeah. So exosystem. That one is a setting that does not involve the person as an active participant, but still affects them. I said how even though he didn't have slaves himself, like a lot of his acquaintances and the people from what was it called? The group of the in the chamber where they all met, all of them, like
Yeah,
a lot of
little
them are
meeting
his,
setting.
even though they're probably not his like friends, or his
Yeah.
acquaintances, and like he sees them really often, like they had slaves, and like he didn't have it, but it still affected him knowing that like, you know, these people did. And like that was a good example when they were playing cards, and
Yeah.
that guy was just like, oh, bring in my like coach driver and my slave and stuff, and like, you know, it wasn't his slave, like it super affected him, like he had to leave the room
Yeah.
and everything.
Right. Well, he even said, you know, it wasn't worth it to him. He didn't back down on his standards, which I thought was something that was awesome. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't even engage in that exchange at all. He just folded and walked away from the table, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I just had his political career on that one. You know, even though he wasn't like, he was involved in politics, but not directly involved. I mean, I don't know how to say what I'm thinking, but like he affected politics without them affecting him, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
And I like the way that they kind of went a little backhanded and had somebody else present the bill about the flags and which ships could be boarded. That was a great, because then, you know, he's like, I'm not even touching this, and it's gonna affect it and make it more where I can get what I need to do done. So
yeah, because if any of them would have said it, it would have been automatic. Nope. Like
right.
This is out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's one way that he was able to use the political system without actually having to stand up and talk. For what he was trying to do.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okie doke. Macro system. So I just put that he spread his political ideology to others. He wasn't shy to talk about it. Everybody knew where he stood. It was slow going, but it slowly moved forward in the work because he continued to persist. And he used religion to support his claims for advocacy.
Yeah, I put, well, part of the macro system is the political system and culture, which is pretty much about the whole movie.
Yeah.
And so I just said how growing up there, he was, well, he was still growing up, but like he was affected by the policies that the government had on slavery. And so because of those policies that were affecting him and his family, because of that, he decided to do something to change it. And so that's how the macro system influenced him.
Awesome. And the last one's the Chronos system. So for that one, I just put that it took many years to complete. The Chronos system's kind of like a change across time that happens. So Wilbur was patient most of the time, and he had people who helped him when he wasn't. But eventually his work affected the whole country he lived in, and I'm sure by extension, you know, surrounding countries, and it had an effect on everybody around him.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing I put, and then just how it was affecting just his family too, his children. So his children wouldn't have to grow up in a world where slavery was still okay and we're still
Definitely.
doing that.
Awesome. All right. So how did Wilbur and his fellow advocates do and share their research? And what evidence did they provide to persuade those opposing or on the fence?
I feel like they did a lot of things. They had to do a lot of things. Like the guy, I can't remember really any of their names, but one of them that he wrote the autobiography about his life when he was a slave. Like that one sold. Yeah, that one sold really fast, like everywhere. And then
there were thousands of copies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean that, like, reached a lot of people, and they got to read like what it was actually like for him. And then there was the other guy who he went to Jamaica, and then he wrote the letter back to Wilbur telling him about the conditions, how it were there. So like they were going out and actually seeing how everything was in outside places. And then I feel like the prime minister, he has more of like the inside scoop of like everything and everyone like that. And so I feel like they each were able to raise like awareness in their own way and come together and
Right. Yeah,
build
that's
something strong.
they all contributed something.
Yeah.
I have that a lot of it was done in open. Like a lot of people knew what he was standing for, and so they knew what he was going about. But some of it was not really in secret, but like under the radar, and then some of it was sneaky, like the boat cruise that ultimately had them stopping at a slave ship, and he made them smell
Yeah.
the ship, and the petition signed by the people in many different cities, and like the passing of the bill for boarding ships with flags. And then they also provided evidence of the truth of the slave trade, the letter written back from Jamaica, personal testimonies, like the book published by Equiano, and the book written by John Newton, who was the priest, and also the box made. Yeah, and then also the box made with the dimensions of the room that each slave had, you know, that he popped out of it.
Yeah. He's like, why didn't you wait to come out until your butler left?
That guy thinks I'm weird already.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. And then just his friends and peers sharing the information and talking to people and getting their accounts. I'm sure all those things helped. So
Yeah. And I feel like Wilbur was just like, he was able to be very persuasive, and like he was really quick on his feet. Like when people would say something in the
yes.
in the
I
comments,
know, he always had a snappy comeback.
always, and it was just like, okay, dang, yeah, like he knows what he's doing. And I feel like because of that, people were able like to trust him a little bit more and more. Like people from the other side were able to come over, like that Ford.
Yes. Ford.
Yeah, yeah, he came over to the other side, like because I think he was good, like at telling them right back, you know, like he knew what he was talking about. So when people know, like you're able to, like,
you know,
go
interesting side note. I thought Ford's voice sounded familiar, so I looked up the actor's name. He played Dumbledore in Harry Potter.
Really?
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Did he die?
Huh?
Did he die?
No.
Who
He's actually got movies coming out next year and all the way up to 2018. IMDb'd him.
Oh my gosh.
But since 1965, he's had constant work. Like every year he's come out with something almost.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
That's impressive.
Yeah, I know.
Well, look at that. Wilbur got Dumbledore to come over.
Right? Dumbledore's on the side of right.
Yes.
All right. I think that's all for that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 4. How does the film portray the importance of working together as a group? And what has family advocacy group work taught you?
I think it was all about group work. Like I was saying, like they couldn't have done it without each other. Like
right.
Each one contributed to something special and like led them ultimately to victory. Like if it wasn't for like the work of each one of them, I really don't think they would have made it.
Right. I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think it does show the importance of group work, and that everybody has a different experience and a different something that they can bring to the table. So you need a lot of different minds and a lot of different experiences to help you with your work.
Yeah. And like sorry, go for it.
Oh, go ahead. I was just reading further down in my notes to see what else I put.
I was just gonna say for like in the class, like because we did like so much group work, I feel like it helps to be more open and like take other opinions and thoughts into consideration more. And it even helps a lot too with like things that you probably didn't think of, and you're like, oh wait, oh yeah, that does make sense, you know?
Right.
And it's just like opens your mind even more.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty much what it taught me too. That's what I have down here, is that that others might have insights that you don't have. Group work has taught me that we can learn more together than we can separately, and that when we work together, we can accomplish a lot more than if we're working on our own.
Yeah. And I think even with like small things like logistics and stuff, it helps you be more organized. Like, you know what? Like I have to do this, because it's like no one else, like there's other people relying on you to finish this or like to do something,
Right.
and like to coordinate with schedules and things like that. So it helps you be a little more responsible with other
It
things.
does. I like to procrastinate till the last minute, but
Yeah,
work and stuff, I'm like, okay, I've got to get this done because I'm meeting with my group soon. So
yeah.
it keeps you more accountable.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So number 5, what parallels do you see between Wilbur and Captain Moroni in Alma 46? What is a Christian and professional family advocate, and how did Wilbur exemplify that? And how can you be effective and Christ-like against such loud and often degrading voices?
I put how, well, like right at the beginning of the chapter in the Book of Mormon, it says that Captain Moroni rallies the people to defend their religion. And like, that's exactly what Wilbur did. Like, he rallied the people to defend like natural human rights of the slaves then, and just to think about that more and think that like they are humans just like they were too. And so, and I think too, like they both faced hardships along the way, and like there's no way that someone's not going to when they're doing things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they were both persistent, and they both like kept the faith, and they both made it to the end. And yeah, for that first part, that's what I put.
I put they both took a stand against those who opposed them, and they both had a pattern that was similar. So they both had an idea, or there was an injustice, and they had an idea on how to fix it. They both wrote down what they thought was important. Like Wilbur wrote the bill, and Moroni wrote the title of liberty.
Mm-hmm.
They both rallied the people to stand behind them and to be with them on their side. And then they both worked to fight the injustice. Wilbur worked, in the House to try to persuade people, and Moroni worked to get all the people rallied behind him and to go after Amalickiah and his dissenters, and to either grant them repentance or death.
Yeah.
Because they were threatening their way of life. So it was not a either or situation. For them, because if they let them live and still believe that way, then they would have come after Moroni's people. So
yeah.
All right, the second part was, what is a Christian and professional family advocate, and how did Wilbur exemplify that?
That's the one where I feel like I couldn't find, but I'm just assuming by just Christian and professional family advocate, I mean someone that, like, they're standing up for what they believe, but they're doing it in a respectful way. Like, they're not like belittling anyone. They're not like yelling their stuff in someone's face. Like, yeah, they're getting their point across, but it's not in a way where it's like that it should be offensive kind of thing to the other person. Like, obviously they probably won't agree, but you're not doing it in a way that's like that.
Yeah. I put that they both, the Christian and professional family advocate, fights for righting the wrongs done against families and against the laws of God. They exemplify Christ and do all they can to teach others about why they are fighting for is why what they were. I can't even talk tonight. Why what they are fighting for is right.
For the end of the semester.
Yeah, right. And then I also put that Wilbur specifically exemplified being a Christian and a professional by noticing injustice, working on a plan, and fighting for the correction of the injustice. But he did it in a Christ-like way and through the right channels. He didn't stoop to the level of others in politics or even allow himself to look like he favored slavery at all. Mm-hmm. Like we talked about with the cards, he got up and left. Yeah. That's what I have.
Yeah. And I feel like it was, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like it was cool too how like when he was like debating like why he wanted to like go with God now, but they were like you can do both, like both of things are good things, and like when you bring them
Right.
together, it's even better, and
Right,
so
exactly.
yeah, that was a cool part.
Yeah. Last question for that is how can you be effective and Christ-like against such loud and often degrading voices? So I just put by not moving from your morals and values, standing strong against opposition, especially when you're in the minority. That will at least gain respect, even if you don't convince others of your views. But they'll know where you stand and they'll know what you're fighting for.
hmm I feel like this one I learned on the mission. Like there was a lot of people. Like it's like at the beginning, I feel like sometimes it's hard to just like remain Christ-like and everything. When people are yelling at you and saying all these things to you, and it's just like. Cause I remember one time it was my first transfer, and we were out contacting in the metro, and my trainer, she was 19. She was so small. She was just like a cute little girl, and I remember we were going and we were contacting this guy, and there was another man who we were not even talking to, and he comes up and he's like, "You guys are being so rude," and blah blah blah. And he just started yelling, and I looked at my companion, and her eyes started getting watery, and I was like, "Don't start crying." I was like, "No," and I was like, "No, like don't show him like he's not winning," and I was just like so upset and everything, and I was like, you know what, like he doesn't really know, and it was just like at that point, it was just kind of like hard to just remain Christ-like and all these things. But then, like after I had another experience, it was like 2 or 3 transfers later, where we were contacting on the metro again, and I was standing in the middle with this girl, and I was just talking to her, and there was this guy, like he's always on the metros, like you always see him everywhere. We just called him the Catholic guy because he would wear just like big shirts of like Jesus on it, and he would just sell like um necklaces with crosses and everything. And I didn't know that yet because I was still kind of new. But he came up and he just started yelling, and everyone in the car just like instantly turned around and just started staring at us. And it was just me and this girl. Because my companion was talking to someone else, and he's just like going off. And so I was like, you know what? Like I was trying to explain to him, but like I feel like there's sometimes where like you share what it is, but sometimes you just have to walk away because like some people are just it's close, like they're not listening, and sometimes I feel like you just can't get any further. It's maybe like later on you can, but at that moment you can't. And
Well,
so like
especially when they're that upset, they're not going to think logically or rationally,
yes, because
or
he was
even
just like
listen to what you have to say.
yeah, and so because he wasn't listening, it's just like all right, like you know what we think. Like I just told you, but you just want to keep yelling, and so sometimes there's moments where you just need to leave.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. You don't want the spirit of contention to be there because then you can't
Right.
really
No.
get anything through. But
Definitely.
yeah,
It's crazy. Missionary stories are always so crazy. Well, not always, but you know what I mean.
yeah,
There's some strange things that happen to people when they're
yeah.
preaching the gospel.
So weird, but
Yeah.
it's fun. Okay.
The next question is Misha Barlow spoke on persuasive speaking and writing. Do Wilbur and others exemplify any of Marcia's ideas, and how so?
I think one of the ways I did was by sharing like personal stories, like how she was saying,
Mm-hmm.
especially with John, I think the pastor or the guy that was
Yeah,
writing the story with the where he was saying about all the ghosts and everything that would haunt
mhm.
him.
His
Like
20,000 ghosts.
yeah. So like his experience and like how he said like use my book like till the end.
Mhm.
He was like use my book and share it like so people know and like feel it too. Because I mean I felt like suffered throughout his whole life after just because of like those experiences, and I think that really has an influence on other people, like hearing that and like seeing like, oh my gosh, like this guy was like totally affected that much. It
Hmm.
like impacts you too.
Yeah. That's one of the points I had too, is that he surrounded himself with people who knew more than he did.
Hmm.
Didn't know something, he tried to learn it. Like he talked to Equiano, and Equiano showed him the slave ship, and he got the letter from Jamaica from the one guy, and he talked to John Newton. Even though he didn't want to talk about it, he finally opened up about it and even wrote down his account for him to use.
Hmm.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. I think another thing that he used is something that Marcia said, is that you can take the narrative or story and put it with data, and that helps you be more persuasive. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's what he did. So he took the narratives that he had, as well as taking the facts that he had found out, and he put them together in trying to get people to change their minds about the slave trade. And I think that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why he was able to convince so many people to come over to his side. I mean, it took time, definitely, but eventually he got the people there.
Yeah. She was right talking about how stories really do have an impact.
They really
Because all
do.
of them that you mentioned, like they were all like stories that happened, you know,
Hmm.
to those people, and I don't know. I feel like just once you hear it, because it's automatic. You try to make that connection to yourself, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Then another thing that he did is he used framing, which is something that Marcia talked about too, was showing something in a certain light to help illustrate how it really was. So like the box that he made to show them
Oh
how
yeah.
the place was, or the boat that he stopped and made them smell what it smelled like on a slave ship, because
Take
a lot
that
of people had
handkerchief off
never
your face.
experienced that.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that he told all those women, take those handkerchiefs away from your noses and smell
Mhm.
it, breathe it.
Their faces.
And then the last thing I have for that was that he kind of, to a small degree, not like to a big degree, but he used the story of self, story of us, and story of now to kind of say, this is what's happening, and this is the injustice, and this is where we need to get, and this is how we can all do it
Hmm.
to get the people of England and everybody away from slavery.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else for 6?
No, that was it.
Okay, just making sure. Number 7, what role did the government policy and religious freedom play in the fight of the slave trade? And did you see their political system being pro-family? Why or why not? So what I did is I kind of broke them all down. So I put like what the government, how the government played in the fight of the slave trade, how policies played, how religious freedom played, and then answered the pro-family question. Did you do something similar like that or no?
No, mine was pretty simple. I just said how the government controlled whether or not slavery was going to be allowed, and
Yeah.
they made the policies and chose like what was going to be done there, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is really simple. You did a good job.
Yeah, I was thorough.
Yeah. What did you put?
So for the government, I put it was through the government process that Wilbur worked to abolish the slave trade.
Mhm.
At one point, he even expresses concern about honoring his king while continuing to work on abolishing slavery. So he shows his willingness to fight for a cause he believes in while still remaining loyal to his king and country. Then for policy, I put that he wrote the bill, he continued to present it, and ultimately used policy to change which ships could be boarded to go back into getting his bill, like a back way into getting his bill passed. Knowing all about policy and what results would come from the certain changes helped him achieve his goal as they were able to do it. Religious freedom, they put that Wilbur's belief in God and scripture is what kept him going in his fight. He knew that we're all precious in God's eyes and fought to fight the injustice of the slave trade. And then I put that I don't think that their political system was very pro-family. Even though they were nominated by the people, politicians seemed out for their own gains. Even comments about nobility when Wilbur's bill finally passes. So, you know, with the nobility, they really don't have to think of the people. They're just automatically kind of elected. And so, yeah, I don't think it was very pro-family. But I think after Wilbur's work, it started becoming more pro-family because of his work and because of all that he focused on. It started getting there.
Yeah, that's what I took too. I didn't think it was really pro-family either.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I mean, especially just because they were mainly focusing on slavery, like, it was so divided and so many people, like, they divided a ton of, like, African families up.
Mhm.
Like, they didn't think about them either. But then I was, like, trying to think of a way where it could be maybe pro-family. I was like, I don't know. The only thing I could think of, which doesn't even really count, but I was like, well, maybe thinking as for the people that did have slaves, like maybe they were like, oh, well, maybe if we have someone else here to help us and do our work, we could spend more time with our family. And I was like, that's so dumb. Like, it just wasn't.
You're reaching, Becky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really didn't really see a way how it could be considered pro-family, because everything that they were doing was pretty much out for each politician to put more money in his pocket. That's what it's
while splitting other families up.
Right, exactly. At the cost of other families,
Yeah.
All right, so number 8. Did you feel that Wilbur used his time on Earth well, and how did you see him showing the elements of consecration that Elder Christofferson spoke of?
I think he definitely did.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I mean,
not only did he work on the slavery, but after that he did education, healthcare, and
he did so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it was like him and his whole group. Like, can't take all the credit, but like all of his group like helped out and like helped him to like do what he needed to do. Like, I'm sure he was like set for that. Like, that was what he was sent to do, you know, and he did it. And I feel like I feel like he was prepared for that time, and like so many people were affected, like him right now and later in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on, sorry. We're going to the Spanish War. Thanks. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Bye.
We go to the Spanish ward, and there's like the English family ward right here in front of our house. But the Relief Society sisters just pass by. So
they're like, why haven't you been coming to church?
Yeah.
How funny.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
We're active, I promise.
Yeah.
How funny.
Like, yeah, no wonder I didn't recognize you. I'm like, yeah. Anyways, what was I saying? Okay, so the other part I said, his time, using his time on Earth. I feel like that he even made sure to make time for his own family, and like he didn't forget about them either, and like he thought about the future, but he also like it showed times where he was just like playing with his kid, and like when he did have that I don't know, medical problem when he started like falling down and stuff. Like, what came and brought him peace was like thinking of his future, thinking of his kids, like, oh, what is gonna be their name, you know? And like that's what kind of like helped him to calm down. So you could tell that like family was something important to him, like Ella's family and his own family.
Yeah. Awesome. And then the elements of consecration that Elder Christofferson spoke of, did you see him showing any of those?
Yeah. Hopefully I got the right talk. I looked it up on
Okay, I went through and looked for all the Elder Christofferson talks because I wasn't sure where it was going to be, and it was like lesson 13.
Really?
Yes, and I started from lesson 1.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I started on lesson 1, I started looking, and I got like halfway, and I was like, okay, let me just try and find it on LDS.org.
There you
But
go.
like Elder Christopherson, consecrated life and stuff.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, perfect. One of the things he said was a consecrated life is a life of labor.
Mhm.
I mean, it like that was a lot of what we saw.
Mhm.
He
Yeah,
did
it was
it like
like
he
his
labored all his
whole
life.
life, the whole movie was him
Yeah.
working on these issues. And
And
then
after the movie.
after the movie, yeah, exactly. He was still working on human issues.
Yeah. And then the other one I put, it says, a consecrated life respects the incomparable gift of one's physical body, a divine creation in the very image of God. And I just put that one like, of how Equiano,
Hmm.
yeah, how he was saying that something that the slave owners did was like brand the slaves. And so he said that with that, they were showing like you don't belong to God anymore, you belong to man.
Right.
And I feel like that's what Wilbur was fighting for, like to abolish that, to get that out. Like they don't belong to man. Like we're all children of God, and he did a good job with that. And then the last thing I put was a consecrated life is a life of integrity.
Mhm.
And then for that one, I don't even think there needs to be an explanation. Like if you saw the movie, like you saw his life, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had integrity too as one of them.
Mhm.
I laughed when that one politician said he was going to go look up integrity,
Oh yeah.
but it really got me thinking. Did he really not know what integrity was? Or, I mean, we grew up with the values of young women's, but do people
Yeah.
not know what integrity is? I mean, maybe they don't.
Yeah.
So then, if that's the case, then we need to set an example by, standing up for the issues that we see as important and teach others about integrity and standing up for what they believe is important.
For sure.
Wilbur definitely did that when he was fighting for what was right, and he didn't give up, and he stood firm in his position until he was able to change the thoughts of others,
Yeah.
which I thought was awesome. I also had time and freedom of choice. I just put that Wilbur spent his time fighting for the injustices he saw that needed to be righted or reformed, and for freedom of choice, that he followed the Lord's principles and doctrines, and he fought for equal rights for all of God's children and worked for better conditions for people in all various areas. So,
Nice.
yep. All right, number 9. Any other profound thoughts or personal insights from the movie that were related to child and family advocacy?
I just put how I really liked that it showed the importance and the value that a spouse has in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying earlier, like it's thanks to his wife that he was able to talk about the things that he wasn't able to talk about for a long time, and he was able to go back and fight and like do what was right thanks to her influence. And just how I feel like we should be grateful, and it's like mainly like express our gratitude, I guess, to our spouses, and just show how we appreciate. He's looking at me right now. And show how we like that we do genuinely appreciate.
Right. I put
Yeah.
something similar to that. I put that God will give us people to help us accomplish our goals. So Wilbur had several people on his side, including John Newton, Equiano, his cousin Henry, and his wife Marianne. Wilbur's wife, Barbara Spooner, William Pitt, the Prime Minister, and many others who helped him in his cause and helped him to keep the fire of advocacy alive. I also put that he had a kind heart, that God requires for someone fighting for rights, and that he had determination to see it through from start to finish, and also that he fought for the rights of animals, not just for the rights of humans. In the very beginning. He told those men to stop beating that horse, give him an hour's rest and he might be good again. Or he had that house full of animals, that he had rescued. And it just shows that what kind of a heart that he had, that he really cared about God's creations.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like it shows too, just like when you're doing the right, like the Lord will put those people in your path, and He
Mhm.
is gonna help you out. Like He didn't do anything that wasn't like He didn't like break the law anyway. Like everything that He did was He did it the right way that it was supposed to be
Right.
done. And
Yeah.
so I think yeah, because of that, they were able to make a difference.
Right. Well, I think, any purpose that God needs to see followed through on, He'll put the right people in the right places with the
Yeah.
right people to support them in the right education. Like the founders of the Constitution, they
Mhm.
they read many books that talked about, how people have innate rights that are God given and that can't be given by a king or
Yeah.
way by a king. And so they had all these thoughts in their mind when they created this government and expelled England, and said, we're
Mhm.
going to start our own thing here. It would never have worked out if God hadn't been on their side.
Yeah.
So definitely, if God has a plan and a purpose, then He's going to see the right people in the right places to make it happen.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Anything else for number 9?
No.
Okay. On to number 10. What was your understanding of the doctrine of the family at the beginning of the semester, and how has it changed?
I think with that one, just like how you were saying, but I think it's just maybe have a deeper like testimony of like the importance of being prepared. Like all these people that we've read about and like the things that they've done, like they did their part, they were prepared. And I feel like Heavenly Father does need those people, especially like in times now, like to stand up for family, and defend correct principles and things. And if we're not ready and if we're not prepared and we don't know like what's going on, how can we really help? And so I feel like throughout the semester, like Sister Lake has like shown us how like important that is, and we can do stuff, like it's not just like certain people, but we can if we really wanted to, we really can make a difference. That
Right.
we need to like have that desire and that passion and persistence, like you were saying in the first one. Well, nothing's really gonna happen.
Definitely. For me, at the beginning of the semester, just the usual family stuff is what I thought,
Yeah.
Family's a basic unit of society. That's where kids learn, all the
Uh-huh.
that everybody knows. But now I understand a lot more how much the family's being attacked and how much the family really needs advocates out there. They need somebody to
Mhm.
advocate for them, especially because many mothers are doing the great work by staying home and raising their children. So they don't have the time or the effort or even the energy left to
Yeah.
advocate because they're taking care of their kids and teaching them good principles. And so right now, while I don't have children, is the time to advocate, or after we raise our kids, maybe that's the time to advocate, or when we have the time, then we need to advocate because the family definitely needs a voice
Yeah.
in the political world. So
Yeah. And I feel like even when you have kids, you can still advocate. Maybe it's not like out to this big public or like outside, but like even like helping your children learn different things and like teaching them. I feel like you're still
right.
advocating, and I mean you're helping them to help later on in the future too.
Yeah. One of my previous visiting teaching companions, she had 4 kids and she was a stay-at-home mom, and she was heavily involved in PTA and all kinds of things like that because all of her kids were in school. So all day, what she did is she would go and volunteer her time. She wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that her kids were getting the best education, that they had, everything that they needed, that the teachers had the support that they needed because they were teaching her kids.
Mhm.
And so she advocated at the school because that's where her kids were at. And so we
Yeah.
can do small little things like that, even if we do stay home to take care of our kids. So
Yeah. And I feel like those small things are the things that have like the biggest impact,
definitely.
Yeah. I never knew like how cool PTA was until I feel like now that I'm like, oh, that is cool,
Right?
Yeah.
All right, last question.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! Picture your spouse and children, current or future, and write down some thoughts about how they will benefit from you taking this class.
I think it just goes right now with the same things we were just saying, just how like because of our understanding now and our new learning, like we are able to teach that to our children, and like now I see how PTA does really make a difference. I thought they were just like making cookies, and like bringing it, but like they really are doing something, and it does have a positive effect. And because of this, like we know how important it is to be involved, like in the home, in the community, around, because all of those things, like Bronfenbrenner Brenner says in his system, like they all have an impact on us and on
And all the
every
kids, yeah.
individual, every child and stuff.
Yeah. Definitely. Some of the things I put is that I'll definitely teach my kids about government and voting and advocacy work and the importance of standing up for what you know to be right. I put I'd also teach them about the power of social media. It can be used for good or for evil purposes, and we can choose to use it for either or. And you also choose what comes into your mind. If you leave the TV on all day, then you're going to see a bunch of ads. But if you turn the TV off, then you're not going to have to worry about that coming into your home. So
yeah,
it's all about what we choose to view and what we choose to let into our home. I also put about Bronfenbrenner's model that it can teach us that the easiest places to start are, in your community, your peers, your schools, where you have your direct sphere of influence, and then you can work out from there. Also put that using the storytelling and persuasive speaking ideas will help me persuade my kids to do what I want them to do.
That's true.
It is, but also teaching them those principles will help them to be more persuasive and, hopefully they persuade other kids to do right instead of other kids persuading them to do wrong, is what I was getting at.
That's funny.
And then good research methods are definitely important. Especially when they're trying to make a point or write a research paper or whatever. So that's something that I'll pass on. And then the last thing that I put is we can use the story of Captain Moroni to teach our children what is important. As the title of Livery states, in memory of our God, our religion, and our freedom, and our peace, our wives, and our children. So it shows just how important, religion and family is, because that's most of what's on there. So, yep.
Nice.
Yay!
Good job.
Woohoo! High five.
We went for 52 minutes.
We
went for 52 minutes.
Sweet. Good.
Nice.